Good day, welcome to our Community Infinity Safety and Awareness podcast. Before we go further, we would like to acknowledge we are on Treaty Land 6. All the work has been done by treaty people, native people, and we acknowledge that, and we always look for an equality-based, gender-based society where everyone has a same right, same opportunities. When we are talking about the opportunities and technology, the atmosphere or the technology is changing, and we have on artificial intelligence space. And I was thinking about to talk about this, and I could not find any other person than Nate Glubish. Nate has been Minister of Technology and Innovation, and 15 years before he became the politician, he was a capital investor. He has a lot of knowledge, and I thought like he will be the best person who bring us the technology information where the government is leading, where the education system is leading. Thank you, Nate, for taking the time and talking to us.
Thanks for having me, Sonny.
Nate, as we are talking about artificial intelligence, right? And then we are talking about the engineering also. Now, recently, Bill 7 has come where the software engineering has been given a position. Tell us more about Bill 7 before we go further.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to give you a little bit of background. So this is a really important piece of legislation for Alberta's tech sector. Anybody who's been following the news lately has heard lots of stories about how Alberta's tech sector is booming. We have more tech companies than ever before. They're growing faster than ever before. They're raising more investment capital than ever before. And in fact, for the first time in my life, we now have around 10 or 12 companies, tech companies in Alberta, that are worth over $1 billion. So this is really exciting. And as that momentum continues, we need to be able to find the right talent for these companies in order to grow from 10 to 100 to 1,000 employees and beyond. And while it's true that we train some of the best talent in the world at the University of Alberta, the University of Calgary, and several of our post-secondary institutions, given the rate of growth in our tech sector, we also need to be able to attract talent from around the world in order to meet those growth targets. And what I learned was one of the biggest problems in Alberta's tech sector is that our engineering regulator in Alberta, which is called APEGA, was taking a very aggressive stance to say, you can't call yourself a software engineer unless you are licensed with the regulator. And this was starting to create a problem for the tech sector because they couldn't attract talent from other jurisdictions, because everywhere else in the world, including in Silicon Valley in California and in other countries, they use the term software engineer very freely. And there's a global consensus on what that means. But in Alberta, we were saying, you can't use this. And that was quite frankly, it was going to cause a $1 billion tech company to leave Alberta forever and move to a different province. That would have been unacceptable. So that's why we introduced Bill 7 to provide clarification to the regulator that, you know what, as long as you are not practicing engineering, but let's say you're doing some coding, you're doing some technology work, if you want to call yourself a software engineer, you can, and you don't need to be licensed. That at its core is what this is all about, and it will allow Alberta tech companies to recruit folks from all around the world using the terminology that the rest of the world already uses and bringing that standardization in. So now Alberta will go from being one of the least attractive places to recruit tech talent. We are now the most attractive place in Canada to attract tech talent, and that's great news.
No, I agree with you, Nick, because when we talk about changes, like change is always needed. It's a continuous improvement. Nothing is written on the stone which cannot be. It's not like a 10 commandments which are written which cannot change. It needs to change, like all technology, all information need to change as the time is changing. That we call the need analysis basis, right? And I agree with you. As we talk about artificial engineering, we talk about software engineers, hardware engineers, because computer technology is changing. But as you brought different designations, different qualifications, So if the person has already, say, PMI is the one I will say, if they have the degree or designation, how is going to impact if they identify themselves as a software engineer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things I have been telling folks as we've brought Bill 7 forward is that if you are a professional engineer or a PEng designation holder, this doesn't change anything for you. The PEng is still the pinnacle of the engineering profession. It is the highest honor and rank that you can achieve, and that's not going to change. It's still critically important to the profession. If you decide to go and get a software engineering degree from the University of Alberta or the University of Calgary, those degrees are still extremely valuable, and they will help to set you apart from other folks who don't have those degrees. But the key thing with Bill 7 is we're just saying for folks who don't have those designations, you are still able to call yourself a software engineer, just like every other jurisdiction in the world. But of course, having the degree or having the PEng designation will set you apart. If you want to have that, if you do have that, it will set you apart relative to your peers. And that's also a good thing, right? You know, and let the market decide what is the right level of talent for their organization, given the work that needs to be done.
No, I agree because what you just mentioned, like, the job market, right? The opportunities are there. And if we don't tap it on time, they will go somewhere else because they have to recruit people, they have to work. If we can get those job market or the organization who are hiring to Alberta is the best opportunity, is win-win for everyone. It helped the economy to boom, housing market, job market, everything. So my question to you is how we are attracting and providing the resources, keeping a balance and keeping everyone happy.
Well, one of the ways that we are working to help attract talent is certainly by partnering with our post-secondary institutions across the province to help create more spaces in those programs that are in the highest demand. And certainly spaces like computer science and other related programs that tie into the tech sector are in enormous demand. And so that's why we have partnered with our post-secondaries. We've provided over $170 million of funding in the last couple of budgets in order to create about 10,000 new spaces in these kinds of disciplines so that we can be training more students, creating more graduates, and ultimately more talent in Alberta that is available for these kinds of jobs and to work with these companies as they grow. And we're going to continue to partner with the post-secondary institutions. You might have heard the Premier talk recently about how we expect Alberta to grow by leaps and bounds, not just in terms of our economy, but also in terms of our population. We are seeing, close to, I believe it's about 100,000 people a year coming into Alberta, choosing to call Alberta home. And as that growth continues, we're going to grow to 5 million people, to 6 million people, and probably beyond that. So if we're going to grow like that, we're going to need to increase the number of spaces at all of our post-secondary programs to make sure that we're training the next generation of talent. And so I know that all of our universities and our polytechnics and our colleges are working on a plan to say, here's how we plan to grow, and here's the new programs and the growth in our programs that we want to bring forward. And as a government, we're looking forward to seeing their proposals and working with them to meet those needs so that we can train the talent of the future.
So Nate, it's a good thing you guys are basically thinking about the future, right? Developing and investing in the post-secondary education, universities, schools where the people are, the students, the future workforce is getting ready. But let's go back a step back to people who are already in the workforce, like your age, my age, that have been working from last 15 years. Is there any program in place where if they want to re-educate themselves or they want to develop this skill also while holding the chemical engineering or other sectors?
Yeah, that's another great question, because you're right. Like the world of technology is evolving rapidly. It changes fast, and that's part of what makes it so exciting. But that can also then mean that for some folks, Your formal training when you started your career might not give you everything you need in order to continue on in the rest of your career, given the shifts in technology. And that's why I'm really proud of what the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute is doing. They are affiliated with the University of Alberta, and they are a world-class research institution related to artificial intelligence and machine learning. And they have come up with some new programs, one of which is called AI Everywhere. And this is a university course. You can take it online. It's going to kickstart in January. And it's open to anybody. It's not just for computer science folks. In fact, it's intended for folks who maybe don't have a computer science background. But the idea is to give you university level education, teaching you about the power and the possibilities of artificial intelligence and the way to use that tool in the world around you and how it can help make everything you do more effective and better. So it's a really exciting new program, accessible to anybody, whether you're a full-time student or not, doesn't matter. And I know that the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute is working on a lot of different upskilling type programs because we see value in giving Albertans opportunities to learn some of these new skills and to marry that up with your existing training, because that will help to make folks better equipped to meet the labor demands of the market of the future.
Nate, I have another question. It's interesting, right? I'm going to reword it, but in a different word. Like when the elementary school or the different age groups of students, right, who are going to school. We have the taekwondo, we have the ballet, the different grades for that. So they get the different, like you're going for taekwondo or judo, like you get the belts, right? White belt, orange belt, black belt, So now they have new terminology, or the schools, it's like a code ninja, which where they basically kids go, which can be starting from grade 4 to any grade, right? And they have a belt system also, in education way, and they teach you coding, how to do even 3D printing, how to do the coding, different languages. Can it be, if someone has done those schooling, or you're paying the $300 or $400 per month to send your kid, can it be granted or homologated for the future studies or school studies?
Certainly I'm aware of the Code Ninjas and several other different programs that are available to children in the K-12 system in order to give them better digital literacy skills and to teach them coding and to teach them about these important technological tools. And we commend that work because it's offering great value to our students, especially to those students who really like this kind of stuff and have an aptitude for it. And we want to encourage young Albertans to have a passion for technology and to pursue studies in these fields. In terms of whether these are integrated to a formal certification recognized by Alberta Education, I'm not sure we're at a level like that, but we're certainly looking at in our post-secondary system a lot of concepts like micro credentials. So instead of necessarily saying you have to have a 4-year degree or a 3-year certificate, to say, you know what, if you want to build some world-class specialization in data science, maybe here's like a shorter series of courses that will give you something really relevant for the real world, and it doesn't necessarily need to have to be a full degree. So we believe that there's a lot of opportunity in micro-credentialing, and I know that's something our Minister of Advanced Education is working very hard on. And then another thing that we're working very hard on is to make sure there's a good connection between what happens in our K-12 system and then in the post-secondary world, so that there's a good flow from our youth as they're coming out of grade 12 into that next level of education and ultimately into the job market to better prepare them. So we want to be well integrated all the way from our core education system into advanced education and then into the job market.
So another question is, in engineering, you can have 2 degrees together. Like you have to take few papers, we could have chemical engineering and mechanical at the same time. You just have to take some extra papers or exams. Can it be combines software engineering and a chemical engineering. So I think the product or the person who's coming out who has done the both, he or she will be more productive in a job market or more suitable because he or she has both knowledges, not the able to do the drafting, but also able to do the coding. So to help the big companies like Suncorp, CNRL. Is anything
Well,
in place?
There's certainly nothing stopping a student in Alberta from choosing to study both of those disciplines and working with their school, whether it's university or college, to find the most optimal path to get the education requirements completed for both degree programs. If you wanted more specifics on what it would take to do that, that might be a good question for the Minister of Advanced Education. But certainly we want to make sure, generally speaking, that Albertans have a lot of choice and a lot of flexibility in picking the education programs that are going to be best suited for them in terms of what they're interested in and in terms of the kind of career they want to have. And we certainly believe that anybody in Alberta who wants to have a career in technology, that there's a lot of opportunity for them, and we're really excited for them, and we're working hard to make sure that our tech sector is strong and growing quickly and attracting investment so that we can be confident that the next generation of technology talent will be able to have long and fulfilling careers right here in Alberta.
Nate, I have so many questions about the Bill 7, but I know you have a time strain and you have to go. Is anything which I have missed, which is really important, or really burning, or is so much, which I have missed, got missed in a conversation? If you can bring it up, please.
Yeah, I think maybe just to wrap up, we've talked a bit about why this was important. It was important to make sure that Alberta can be competitive in attracting talent from all around the world, using a globally standardized understanding of the term software engineer without having the requirement of being licensed with the engineering regulator. And that this was required in order to make sure that we don't chase away billion-dollar tech companies that offer hundreds, if not thousands of jobs, good paying jobs for Albertans. One of the questions I often get is just around are we confident that we're able to continue to protect the safety of Albertans, given the kinds of things that software engineers might work on? And here's the good news. There's nothing in Bill 7 that takes away from safety for Albertans. Every company in Alberta that is working on something that would apply, that would impact safety for Albertans, they are still going to be regulated. For example, if you are a medical technology company building a pacemaker or building some other medical device, you're still regulated by Health Canada. If you are, working on software for self-driving cars, you're still regulated by Transport Canada. If you're working on software for the energy industry, you still have to fall under the occupational health and safety rules and regulations, and you still need to follow environmental legislation and all of the other relevant legislation and regulations that apply to the energy industry. So that's the good news, is that there already is a regulatory environment in there to protect the safety of Albertans. This is simply saying, if you're not practicing engineering, but you are coding, you're doing technology, and if you want to call yourself a software engineer, you can do that in the same way that folks in California are doing it and everywhere else in the world. And this is what will make Alberta competitive again, and a great destination for tech talent. So we're really excited. This is going to help provide a big boost for Alberta's tech sector. It's growing by leaps and bounds, and we're confident that's going to continue. And that's good news for all Albertans.
No, thanks a lot. You have cleared a lot of confusion because, as you said, we always have, we always get, perceptions or perceivement when we don't have a right information, right? But when you get the clear, consistent message and the picture, those confusions goes away, and then we can build a better future. Nate, thank you for taking it. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Well, I was just going to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. It's something I'm really excited about, and I hope your listeners found this helpful.
No, thank you. It's really helpful because you have cleared so many things, right? Safety, perceptions, how we can progress and why it's needed. So when you bring all those concepts, like, it's not just your thoughts, it's need a analysis basis. It was required. And if we don't do it, we lose the opportunity. So if we lose the opportunity, basically it's no use of crying on a spilled milk. But thanks a lot for taking a time and talking to us and giving us such a relevant information.
Thanks again. Always a pleasure to be on the show.